In this session, we will see how to configure synchronous transaction in AppDynamics. The response time displayed here is the time that a request is pending in the request path of a WSO2 gateway. That's it. It doesn't include not even the response path of the gateway. It doesn't include ESP, doesn't include DSS or network. The end-to-end latency will be displayed here. This will include the end-to-end latency all the way from gateway to USB to DSS to database. But currently, the AppDynamics is not tracking this end-to-end latency because AppDynamics doesn't know where a transaction is terminated in this application stack because of a, a non-blocking transport, because the gateway is using a non-blocking HTTP call uh, to ESP, right? So there is a configuration. We can tell AppDynamics uh, uh, to consider a class and method as the logical endpoint in our WSO2 stack. So to do that, go to configuration, instrumentation, asynchronous transaction, add a rule, and there are two ways to do that. The first one is we can specify or we can instruct AppDynamics that the transaction is complete when the last thread on a specified tier is finished running. We cannot use this for our use case. We can use uh, transaction is complete when specified class and method is invoked, right? So I will name my rule as endpoint, actually end point. The class name is access to sender and the method is sent back. This is the class and this is the method that will be executed last uh, for a given transaction, right? It will be executed in the response path of the gateway. This is the class and the method that is used to send a response back to the client, right? So I will be serving this, and then I will configure which transaction should use this logical endpoint. So that is my all the calls to employee API should use uh, this asynchronous transaction configuration. Now if I go ahead and click on the business transactions, after some time I should be able to see the end-to-end latency as well. Let's have a look at some transaction snapshots uh, and see how the end-to-end latency is displayed over there. Now you can see the end-to-end latency is 3.5 seconds, but the execution time within the request path of the gateway is 300 milliseconds. So now the dynamics is keeping track of end-to-end latency as well. You can go and verify the snapshot flow map and see the end-to-end latency time. So the gateway, this is 800 and then another 800 and then two, altogether it comes to around 3500 with some network delay also it comes to 3563 millisecond, right? So now we are tracking end-to-end latency in AppDynamics. And in the business transactions view also you will be able to see the end-to-end transaction now, end-to-end latency. If you go to the application dashboard, uh, you will see a response time graph. uh, this is not the end-to-end latency graph. This is just the latency within the request path of gateway, right? So there is no use in analyzing this. uh, so we should look at the end-to-end latency from the business transaction tab, or we can go to transaction snapshot and see the end-to-end latency there, right? If you go to a business transaction snapshot and open up a snapshot, uh, In the waterfall view, you'll be able to see kind of uh, in which tier the message is living uh, from start to end, right? So from here the flow is starting, and in the request path it is spending 300 millisecond, and then flow comes to esp request path and it spends 2 second there, and it goes to dss, and then it comes to esp response path, that comes to gateway response path, right? And also from here also you can uh, from the waterfall view also you can drill down into uh, the transactions, right? So you can drill down into now the gateway workers uh, response path, and you also can click on slow calls and errors and see what is the slowest methods, right? And then what is the remote slowest remote db and database calls. And from the main overview dashboard also you can see what are the potential problems. So we are using a lot of script mediators uh, with a thread sleep, and that is reported here, right here.